Start the recording and action. Let's see here. Welcome, Business Stats. Hopefully that's why you're here. I don't see any alarmed faces, so that's good. Usually I do a bit about welcome to Calc 4, but get a rise out of you. So I'm Emily Lee, so many E's, right? 5, it's crazy. But easy to remember, I guess. It's just Emily spelled funny. And my parents aren't like super cool or anything. I was born in Sweden and that's how you spell it there. So they're just normal. They weren't like very hip or anything. My maiden name was Gustafson, so Lee's a lot easier. And makes my email easier as well. So on the course outline, I have my email and obviously my office, but if you would come with me to our Moodle page, on our Moodle page, I've also posted, so same information, but with myself. So the reason I do that is for if you have a question or if you just need to get a hold of me, you can text me. Don't call me because my ringer is never on and I won't answer. But also it's weird. Don't call me. No one ever does, so it's fine. So you can text me. And the reason I find that it's a lot easier because especially in a course like stats, you're gonna be working on paper a lot and you know the problems get quite long and there are lots of places where things can go wrong. And so then if you just take a picture and send it to me and then I can look at it and I can relatively easily usually find out where you went wrong, or I'll write on my end and then I send you a picture back, and it just it kind of makes the question process a lot easier instead of you having to type it out, or I don't know, emails are weird. They're kind of a mental block for me at least, and maybe I'm just old, but I feel like I have to sit down to write an email. Okay, here we go. Type an email. Hi, Emily, how are you doing? I don't care. Right, and so emails just kind of slow you down a little bit, and so I prefer texting for that reason. Obviously, if you prefer to email me, they go to the same place, my phone, and so I don't care. But I just, whatever lets you ask a question quicker, that's what I want you to do. Yeah? And I've been doing the cell phone bit forever. And all my colleagues, they're like, that's so, oh, don't you, like, they must message you all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, not really. I mean, when they have questions, but not really. And so I'm not bothered by it. I'm an adult. I can decide when it's appropriate to text back and things like that. And so if I'm busy, I'll just let you know, and that's fine. Whoa, hello? Maybe I need to mute everyone. I don't know. I thought I had it set. Okay. So that everyone was muted, but then they never are. So sorry about that, guys, if you're joining online. Hey, looks like quite a few of you are. Hopefully it's okay. Oh, okay. So much and so little to do on the first day. It's all admin. I always host my classes in Zoom. Okay, so hopefully you got my message last night because I was driving home from work. This is insane. People are slipping around, and it was just nuts. And so that's why I sent you that message, because you know I don't want you to be driving when it's unsafe, and so, or don't come in if you don't want to be here. You're all adults. You can make your own decisions. And so if coming to class works for you, then that's great. I'll be here. But if not, you're welcome to join on Zoom. The link is just at the top of our Moodle page. And so the only problem is I can't see the chat. So if you're on Zoom right now, hopefully you can hear me. I don't have a mic set up or anything, but it's That's what you get. So I can't see the chat. For some reason, when I share my screen, I can't see the chat. So I don't see that until the very end, which is sometimes kind of heartbreaking. There's all these questions and I haven't seen them. And so just keep that in mind. And so if you're joining online, you're kind of a backseat rider. And so you'll hear my voice, you'll see my screen, but that's it. Okay. But it is something that I like to offer. I also record my voice and the screen, which I'll post on YouTube. And so they're just available. It takes a little bit of time to process, and whatever, they send me an email, I download it. I'm sure there's a more efficient way of doing it, but it's just my setup. And so they let me know when it's ready. I download it, I upload it to YouTube, and then there it is. And so the link, there's no videos in there now, but on our Moodle page, I've got the link to the lecture videos. And so every day I'll post our video. Hopefully nothing happens, like I'll be on mute or something. Usually once a term that happens, then I shape up. But this is where they'll be, and it's just kind of a nice thing, hopefully, for you to use. Okay. I post my notes. So anything that I write on the iPad, I will post after class. And so anything that I've shared on the screen, you'll have. And there's lots of reasons for me to do that. Right? I don't see a point in hiding information from you when my job is to give you information. But also, for a lot of people, when you're hearing things for the first time, it's hard to listen and write at the same time, right? And so, I mean, in an ideal world, you've read the sections beforehand, but I know that gets kind of boggy towards the middle of term, right? You're going to stay on top of it for the beginning, that's for sure, and then kind of start slipping. So I understand that. But then it gets overwhelming when I'm talking and writing. And so then I just want you to remember that I will post the notes and you will have them to come back to and kind of fill in those notes. So then I would almost prefer that you listen, right? And so so that's my setup for you. Any questions so far? Didn't see that coming. Okay, here we go. Oh, I guess I just declared I can't see the chat, but it is our first day, so I'm trying to be good. I'll never check again. Never. You're on your own. We'll do a run through of our course outline, and then I'll walk you through our Moodle page. And isn't that so painless? That'll be it for today. So that's why I said, oh, don't worry about coming in. It's just going to be a quick day. Okay, let's see here. So my office hours, I don't do office hours just because it ends up being me tethered to my chair and no one comes to see me at that time, but you have questions other times and that's totally fine, like I was saying. And so I'm almost always available and I'm usually on campus. My office is C104, which is a shared office way over in the C building. First floor though, so not bad. If the door is closed, it's usually because we're talking and not anything important. And so so just knock. It's really hard to see if anyone's in there because the light's always on. But anyways, just knock, and if you need to see me and I'm there, you can see me. Okay. And so so it's always my office hours when I'm in my office, I guess. And so if you don't want to make the trek all the way over there, you could send me a text beforehand. Hey, are you on campus? Yep. I'm here and there and everywhere. And I'll put my cell on here since I'll post these notes after class as well. Okay. So office hours, sort of always, and no time at the same time. But I find that it works out quite well. Especially because the day before a test, for example, I make a point of staying up, till midnight, which is very late for me, just so I can catch questions because I know they come in, and I'm always pro you asking questions no matter how late or late in the game it is. I just want you to ask. One thing I want to point out is that if you've taken Stat 121, you can only get credit for one of 121 and 124 because they're the same course. Okay, 124 is the business flavor, but in terms of material, they're the same. And so just a heads up, don't want you to get caught up in that. For the textbook, we're using an open textbook called Open Intro. And the main thing that I want to highlight is that we're using the 4th edition. Okay, and so you can just download it. I posted a PDF on our Moodle page, and it's really important that you get the 4th edition. You can get a hard copy. I didn't ask the bookstore to order any because I don't know how many, and they get really mad if people don't buy them. And anyways, I just didn't feel like getting in trouble again. And so they're on Amazon. They're $25. And aren't they beautiful? They're like velvet, like matte velvet feeling. Not velvet, but anyways, you can come up and touch it, I guess, at the end of class if you want. But this is the textbook that we're going to be using. Okay, so you can find it on Amazon. Just make sure that it's the 4th edition. Okay, because they did make kind of content changes from the 3rd to the 4th, and so that's why it's really important. Okay, so if you're like me and you like to have a hard copy, then it's on Amazon, not the bookstore. But otherwise, you've got the free PDF. You're good to go. Any questions before we talk about grade breakdown stuff? Okay. So we're going to have assignments, obviously. There are, just as a heads up, there's roughly 20 assignments. Say roughly, because I'm going to regroup some things, but approximately 20 assignments. At 15%, making them each worth a very little, right? And so together they add up to quite a bit, but each one individually is not a big deal. You'll find that some are long, some are short, and they're all worth the same. So just keep that in mind. There are 2 tests, which I'll talk about once we go through our Moodle page. And so 2 tests, and there are going to be 10 labs. So 1% each for those labs. Now, what's kind of fun is for the assignments and the labs, we're going to be using a platform that we built here. Well, it's based off of my Open Math down in the States, but then we started our own server, and so we called it My Okanagan Math so that we could have the same acronym, MOM. Fun, right? Oh, it's on MOM. Oh, MOM did this, blah, blah, blah. It's all fun. And so Steve, who was teaching in here right before us, and well, he did a lot of the work. But I like to think I helped in encouraging him, but also, yeah, I helped. And so here, these are going to be in MOM. Now, a fun feature about MOM is you get late passes. So I'm going to give you 10 late passes for the term. And what a late pass does is it extends the due date by 24 hours. Okay? And so the only catch is that you have to apply the late pass before the due date. Okay? Very similar to you're working for a client and you're not going to make the deadline, most people are fine with that as long as you let them know before the deadline, right? Can't wait for the deadline to pass and then say, oh, I actually missed that. Well, no kidding, right? And so very similar to that. And so you get 10 late passes and use them wisely, right? So that you can apply them to the assignments or the labs, but you only have 10 and there's about 30 things, right? So just remember that. Okay. I don't have an assignment up for you to look at, but once you click on the assignment, then it'll show you the due date, obviously. And also it'll have a redeem late pass option. So then you click that and it should adjust your due date, right? But just for you individually. Okay. And on that note, I wanted to write about the late passes, but maybe it's okay. On that note, as a courtesy in Moodle, we've got this brand new-ish Moodle, and how do I see the calendar? Well, I don't know, but somewhere in here, there's a calendar, I'm sure, which will remind you of the due dates. Now, what I want to emphasize is that those aren't linked to MOM. Okay, so if I change a due date in MOM, I give you an extension just as a class as a whole, then I'm not going to make that adjustment in the calendar because it messes up completion tracking and things like that. And so I don't want to do that. So sometimes they'll be mismatched, mostly not, they'll be fine, right? But if that happens, then when you click on the assignment, the due date that shows up when you click on the assignment, that's the true due date, okay? And so I don't want emails saying, oh, you forgot to change the due date. No, I didn't. I didn't change the calendar because it messes things up, okay? Which I wish they would fix. I wish I could fix the calendar, but anyways. Good. No labs this week because we haven't learned anything. So we start labs next week. Okay. And let's see here. Final exam is cumulative, of course. It's the entire course with kind of emphasis on the later stuff because it's more important. Any questions about the grade breakdown? Pretty standard stuff. Yeah. The learning outcomes are useful, but not until the end of the term, right? This means potentially nothing to you right now, and that's fine, right? We haven't learned it yet. And so it'd be weird if it did. And so we'll go through the learning outcomes as we review for the final exam, right? Which feels like so far away right now, but April's just around the corner, folks. So I'll skip that. Just for an overview of course content. Chapter 1, we're going to move through quickly. So just this week, chapter 1, we introduced terminology, which we'll need for the rest of the course, right? We need to be able to talk about data and understand kind of some core terms. Then we're going to summarize data. Now that can be numerically or visually. So, right, so we'll talk about those. That'll be next week. And then we have to talk about probability. Now, the weird thing is that we talk about probability for the rest of the course, but not in this specific sense. And I hate probability in this sense. So I'm going to go through it as quickly as we can, right? I'll do what we need to, and that's it. We'll get in, get out. So if you're looking forward to things like counting cards and all that, I don't like it. So we're not doing a lot. We're doing some, we have to do some. And then we move into random variables, which probably doesn't mean anything right now, but we need it for inference. Now, inference is the reason that you have to take this course. Okay? Inference is taking information from a sample, right, to infer something, so to learn something about the entire population, right? So we have a subgroup and we're trying to generalize to the population. Okay? And there are lots of different ways that we can do that. And so in chapter 5, we introduce some core concepts in doing that. Okay. And then we talk about, well, how can I do inference about categorical data? Hey, that's a term that we have to introduce in chapter 1, so we haven't yet, but so we'll know what that means, right? Same with numerical data, right? That's why it's so important to talk about what they are in chapter 1, right? Because we need to understand that how I analyze these things is going to be different, right? Two whole separate chapters for them. And then we end on a high note because I never get to chapter 9. And that's fine. With regression. Now, regression is you have a scatter plot, which I'm sure you've seen some version of, and you have a line of best fit. And then you use that line to predict values. It's just kind of a nice, light, breezy way to end the term after kind of some heavy duty stuff here in 5 through 7. Yeah. And so that's the way the course is going to go. For me, I can't wait to get to chapter 5. I can't wait. Well, 4 is really fun too. It's all fun, I guess. It is. Yeah, it's just probability I don't like. Okay. Questions about, well, anything, really? No? Okay. These are auto-generated, and it's true, I don't give makeup exams, so if you miss a test for any reason, I don't care. Well, I care about you, but I don't care to know the reason, if that makes sense. And so it doesn't matter to me why you miss a test. If you miss a test, I'll transfer the weight to the final exam. I'm only going to do that for one test, okay? And I know what you're thinking. Well, strategically, because you're all in business, so I know how you think. Strategically, wouldn't it make sense if I'm not going to do well on a test to just skip it? Yes and no. So to fix that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take your lowest test grade, whether it's low because you missed it, low because you didn't perform well, right? It doesn't matter, right? I'll take your one lowest test grade and shift that weight to the final exam, assuming the final exam is better, obviously. Okay. And so, and that happens automatically. Well, I do it once you've written your final exam. Okay. And the reason I do that is because the most important thing to me is that you're improving, right? So as long as you're improving, I'm happy, right? You've got test 1, test 2, and then if one of those is bad, that's fine. Don't sweat it, right? Then you've got the final exam to redeem yourself. So as long as the final exam is good, then I'm happy, right? And so it doesn't matter, right? One of your test grades is going to get shifted. This one, I had a total heartbreak last term. And so you have to get 45% on at least 45% on the final exam in order to be able to pass the course, right? Assuming that gets you a pass overall, right? But you have to get at least 45% on the final to be able to pass the course. So what happened is I had someone with an overall passing grade because the final is only 40% of your grade, right? And then they just didn't write the final exam. And what happens then? The most I can give you is 45%. Heartbreaking. Don't do that, right? And so now you know, and I think at first, that 45% on the final exam, what? That's so harsh. Is it though? Is it? That's less than half. It's fine. What I find interesting kind of psychologically is if I think, oh, you have to pass the final to pass the course, that's all lackadaisical and easy, right? But as soon as you say, oh, you have to get at least 45%, which is actually less than 50, then it sounds all harsh. Just think about it. It's psychologically interesting, to me at least. Or maybe I'm weird. 45. It's all edgy. Pass. Smooth. So just be aware of that. And I'll try to remember to bring it up, but usually now they know, you know. You'll need a calculator. And especially for tests, if you forget your calculator, you can always borrow a calculator from the library. I do bring spares, but sometimes they run out and then you don't have a calculator. And how terrible would it be to have to use a calculator that you don't know? Ugh. And so I know you guys have the BA2 plus, right? From business math, probably. And I use that one all the time. I have the one my calculator du jour is this Casio, but doesn't matter. Any scientific calculator will do. Just make sure that you have a calculator for the tests, especially. Right? You don't need to have one for class, but for the tests. Yeah. Okay. I do give you a formula sheet, but admittedly, it's quite scary looking. So I don't give it to you on the first day because I will be guiding you through the formula sheet as we go. So it's not going to be as scary as it would look today. But you will have a formula sheet, okay? And I'll train you in how to use it to your advantage, right? There's lots of little clues along the way. So don't worry, you will have it, but we don't need it for the first little bit. Classes begin January 8th, yesterday. Let's see here. First thing I used to do as a student was just jot down all the days off that you have, right? Get those down, feel good about those. And then now what I want to highlight is the last day to withdraw. It's March 8th, so it's quite far out. And so sometimes, you know, people forget about it, but I do want to highlight it just because by March 8th, you're going to have a really good idea of, am I going to pass this course or not? Okay. And I hate to say it, but everyone has a bad term. It happens, and it's usually out of your control. And so that could be this term. And so if that happens, you know, you've tried your best, it's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. Then the best thing for you to do is to withdraw by March 8th. The reason I say that is because a W doesn't count towards your GPA. Whereas if you just stayed in the course and then failed, that does count towards your GPA, and it's going to bring your GPA down. Okay, and so then it makes more sense to withdraw, right, and kind of take the hit, but not have that fail on your transcript. Okay, but like I said, March 8th, you'll have a really good idea of what's going on. Yeah.
If you fail a class and retake it, does your grade
yes, I think so. But that would be for the counselors. That's a good, pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah, because it's for the credit, I'm pretty sure. So I double check with your counselor, but yeah. I say that as if I know who they are. They're over there somewhere. The academic advising. Over here somewhere.
The business one's over there.
Oh, Muggles over there.
Yeah.
Over here. Thank you. But yeah, it should, because why not? Good. Last day of classes, April 12th. Jot that down, obviously. And then we've got final exams. Okay. I am going to switch to our Moodle page. So I'll post those notes. I didn't write down a lot, but I'll post it after class, so you'll have it. But let's just go through the Moodle page. There's a lot of the same stuff on here, obviously. And so make sure, so if you didn't get my announcement that I sent out yesterday, then just make sure that you've got your Moodle hooked up to whatever email you want it to be hooked up to. I don't know how it works. Just hope it reaches you. The Zoom link, which is how you can join virtually if you want any class. Now I use this Zoom room for all my classes. So what I'll do is I'll post my schedule so you know if I have a different class, you're welcome to join. But why would you? You've got enough classes, I'm sure. And so, but that's where I'll be. And then I already showed you the link to the videos that I'll post on YouTube after each class, right? And so that's good. It's empty right now. But you could go to my channel and you can find Stat 124 from last term if you wanted to really study up, I guess. But why? Now the Success Center, do you guys know the Success Center? They keep changing their name every 2 years or so, but they're in the library, and there are, I would say, almost anyone who's working in there can help you with this course, and so that's really helpful. Kate is awesome. Kate Sidlar works there, and she can absolutely help you with this course, but pretty sure almost anyone that works there can help you. If you don't want to come see me for whatever reason, maybe I'm not around. It's free tutoring. They've already been paid, so now you just need to use them. All right. Oh, I should change to be a student because I've got hidden things. Hidden. I post this Grit TED Talk as kind of an inspiring little tidbit on learning math and statistics, right? And so a lot of people heading into this course, or I'd say it's like two split camps, right? Some people are super excited to be doing math again, finally, right? And then you come to stats and you realize it's more of a fine dance between English and math. You're kind of bummed. And then you have these people who are scared to do math. Oh, I'm not very good at math. It's been forever. Don't worry, there's not a lot of math. It's like a fine dance between English and math, okay? And so Angela Duckworth does this TED Talk on grit, and just kind of learning math is more of a perseverance rather than, or grit, rather than, you know, what your brain is capable of, right? So encourage you to watch that. I've got the course outline, which we already looked at. And then I posted the PDF and the link for the textbook, so you have that. And I posted these videos. Now these are from the textbook, and Mina is one of the authors of the Open Intro. And she's awesome. If I ever get to meet her, I'll be so starstruck. Crazy. So I haven't watched all of these videos. I haven't watched very many of them, but I trust that she's doing a fine job. So so they're there just in case videos are your thing. There's not videos on every concept, but the core concepts are there. So they're just for your viewing pleasure. Yeah. These are the slides that I used last term. Now, I kind of change my teaching style as we go, as time goes on. Right now I'm dealing with like a wrist thing. I know, so boring. And so I'm trying to not write so much. And so I ended up using slides and it worked out relatively well. So I will write on the slides and post them after class. But here are the slides that I used last term. There were some typos and things like that that I'll clean up. But in general, I'll use the same type of layout. Okay, so just so you have an idea of what we're going to talk about. Okay. I've got the lab schedule. No labs in the first week of classes. And then no labs for reading break, obviously. And then Easter kind of bungles it a little bit because there are Friday lab sections and there are Monday lab sections. So then we have to cancel the labs for the entire week. So that gets messy. And so then there's no labs, and then the last week of classes where we usually don't have a lab, we have to have a lab on regression because it's very fun. So why not? And then you're done with the labs. Okay. For each week, I give you an idea of what we're going to cover. The reason I do that again is so that you can do a little bit of pre-reading, right? And so today we're just doing introductions, and then on Thursday we'll do chapter 1, and then we'll start chapter 2, and it's going to take us, I anticipate, all week to get through section 2.1. It's quite large, and so it's going to take us some time, and then we'll wrap up chapter 2 and start chapter 3 the following week, etc. What happens with the labs is sometimes if you have a lab early in the week, it's possible that you're seeing material in the labs before we introduce it in class. That's okay. The due dates for the labs are going to be quite in advance, right? So quite far out. And so I can't believe I've said far out twice today, but anyways, quite far out 3 times. And so if we haven't introduced the material, just maybe hold off on the lab and then you can do it later. The setup of the labs is it's just going to be an assignment essentially on Moodle or on Mom, and with the instructions built in. So it'll tell you how to do something, get you to do it. And if you can do that on your own time, great, you did it. You did the lab, right? So as long as you're completing those questions, that's all there is, right? The lab times are there in case you need help with Excel, which we're using. Can't believe I forgot to say that earlier, but so we're using Excel. If you're comfortable with Excel and kind of reading instructions and doing things, you can just do them on your own time. Okay? So you don't have to go to the lab sections, totally fine. But if you find that you need a little bit of help, then that's what the labs are for. Okay? Hopefully you have Excel installed on your personal computers. If not, it is available through the college. I don't know the exact way to get it, but if you don't have it yet, then let me know and I can help you out. I can help you figure it out. Okay? But you do get it included in your tuition. I hate to say free because it's absolutely not free. pay tuition. So, okay. So that's labs. There's something else. I don't remember. Test 1. I've got it scheduled on the Thursday before reading break. Sorry, folks. I know. And bummer for me because it means that I have marking to do over reading break. Poor planning, right? But at least you'll be off for the break. And so that's the benefit, okay? But test 1, I'm not going to move the test date, okay? And if we don't get through all the material, I'll just cut it from the test and move it to the next test. That's totally fine, right? So it's wherever we get to. But hopefully we'll be able to wrap up chapter 4 or kind of some version of that. And then we've got reading break. It used to just play all the time, but I think it's so cute. Anyways. Then we've got reading break, and then we keep going. And then I've got test 2 on April 2nd, which is a Tuesday. I'll mix things up, which is on chapters 5 through 7, or whatever was left in chapter 4. You get the idea. Oh, low power. Well, it was bound to happen, I guess. I can't reach the power cord. I can't find one. So my percentages are numbered 10. It's okay, I'm almost done. And so then, of course, end of term, final exam. Now this is the outline from last term. I don't anticipate it changing a lot, but I do reserve the right to change it a little bit. But just as a general outline, this is what the final exam is going to look like. Okay. I think that's all I had to say. Are there any questions?
I have a question. If
Yes.
you have a different prof for your lab, there's also no lab tomorrow.
That's right. Okay. No labs for anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next week, labs. Yeah. So you're free. And that's for all the labs. 121, 124, none of them. You're all free. I will post the lab schedule of all the labs that you could go to. So you have to be registered in a lab, but you can go to any of the labs. It's totally fine, especially if you're bringing your own laptop. It's like an outdated thing where, well, there's only so many computers in a computer lab. Well, we don't have to deal with that anymore. And so if you're bringing your own laptop, you're good to show up to any. So I'll give you a list of all the labs that are available. You can just go to whichever one, or none if you prefer. Any other questions?
What's the assignment schedule then? So we've got the labs and then the assignments. Like when are all the due dates and how many due dates?
Oh, because they're not posted yet. Because I wanted to rejig some of assignment 1. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I'll post those and you'll have them.
Okay.
Yeah. And I give you at least a week. So from the time that I post them, I'll give you at least a week to work on them. So you'll always have time. Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm like totally new to this labs idea. So mine is
Probably everyone is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, like if mine's online Wednesday mornings, is there supposed to be a Moodle shell? Because like mine is empty.
No, you'll be accessing the labs through the course shell. So we've consolidated and just the instructor, so you'll access it through our regular course shell. So even if you have a different instructor, I have given them access. Probably Dominic then. You guys would have Dominic Wang for your lab if you don't have me. And so, because I think it's Dominic and I teaching 124 labs. Anyways, and so he's got access to my mom shell. So he'll be able to look and see what your answers are and stuff like that. So, so we're all coexisting. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Then I release you. And I'll see you on Thursday. And I'll stop this.